I am connected, aware, and responsible for my emotional life. I honor safety, community, and strength without fear. I choose to respond with clarity, prepare before crisis, and care before judgment. I am part of the healing, not just a witness to the pain. So recently there was a shooting that happened at Brown University, which is in Providence, Rhode Island. Now, with any type of shooting, especially when it makes the news headlines, of course, people have lost their lives and people have gotten hurt or shot and injured and things of that nature. And I don't really want to dive into the details of that because that's not really the focus of this particular point that I want to talk about. What I want to say is that there's a lesson that we can learn from everything that happens in our lives or everything that happens within our society. And so this is the bigger picture that I want to talk about. This tragedy, this affects many layers of life. It's about safety, it's about community, it's about emotion and human responsibility. We need to talk about how we can transform ourselves, our behaviors, and have an impact on our community while also having a sense of resilience. And we have to create some understanding. Like, we have to understand violence because that requires awareness. You have to be aware of it, and you can't be in denial of it. In any setting, in any capacity, violence isn't random, it's a symptom. When individuals act in extreme ways, it often reflects deeper issues within emotional pain, isolation, untreated trauma, some type of disconnection or some type of resentment. It's important that people know that society, they often ignore these type of warning signs. Signs like loneliness and withdrawal, emotional instability, or behavioral changes, both in ourselves and others. When we're learning to spot these signals before tragedies can ever happen, this can prevent any type of escalation. We need to start having monthly emotional check-ins. And what I mean by that is once per month, we need to write down in our journals or get a notebook, and we need to write down how we felt each day, every mood, our energy, our thoughts, all of it. Write down how you felt. And I want you to also write down any shift in behaviors. If you notice any shift in behaviors, I want you to write that down as well. I want you to also write down stressors, things that cause you stress, and how you handle them. Okay? And the reason why you do this is because it's going to help you track your patterns. It's going to help you track those patterns instead of ignoring them when they pop up. Now, another thing that we can learn about this tragic event is that safety, it's a collective responsibility. It's just not institutional. And so think about it like this: schools, organizations, and things that we have within our society, they often focus on security after an event happens and not before it. But safety, that also includes emotional health. It also includes early intervention and having support from your community. And this is why it matters to us. It matters because physical safety protocols, these are essential, but they don't replace emotional well-being programs or mental health education and early crisis interventions and, having peer support systems and things of that nature. So let's be real. We have to be real about how we can have solutions to make this something that's not continued throughout society. So we need to know the mental health resources that are at schools or that are at the workplace. We need to know if you see someone, feeling isolated, or they seem like they're alone, or maybe they're struggling. Reach out early before those symptoms get even worse, okay? And it is really important for everyone to know how to respond to fear, not just survive it. And it's important that we respond to fear because fear is a survival instinct. But when you're disciplined, this is going to replace panic. When you train your nervous system to respond to chaos, this is going to empower you in any type of situation, especially when it's in a crisis. There's many different things that we can do to train ourselves to get ready for these type of nervous system changes to occur. We need to have weekly stress response training. You're training yourself to respond a particular way when a situation occurs. And so 5 minutes daily, we need to do some deep breathing. Deep breathing, 5 minutes. I want you to visualize for 5 minutes safe outcomes. This is what you're visualizing for 5 minutes. Safe outcomes. And then I want you to review your emergency response plans when it comes to your school or when it comes to your work. The next thing that we have to do is make sure we have offline support, not online. Make sure we have offline support, because people, they often use social media as a tool that they go to get answers or to get interaction and responses from people out there, when most people out there, they don't know you, or they might not even have your best interest at heart. What happens is that's going to cause you to get more anxious. It's going to cause you to feel more on edge, because you're worrying about the criticisms from strangers who don't even know you. So you need to make sure that you speak to people who know you, and people who truly care about you, and people who want your greatness to be shown every single time you step out. So social platforms, they can help share your stories. You know, you can support one another, and you can even advocate for reform, but there's nothing like having that good human interaction, or even speaking with someone who may be really good at what they do. Maybe they're a therapist or someone like that. You can speak to someone like that, and we need to make sure that healthy boundaries are established. Limit the amount of news that you interact with on a daily basis. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're listening to news or you're reading the news, it's going to be negative news that you don't even need to be listening to. When you listen to all that negative news, all you're doing is creating fear within your imagination, and you're taking on other people's trauma. That's draining. That's going to be very draining. So limit any type of news that's going to be stressful, okay? Also, I'm not saying you have to stay offline completely, but what I am saying is that you need to take breaks regularly. You need to take breaks regularly. You need to avoid scrolling, doom scrolling, and going through your phone. Take breaks, okay? Because it's full of things that's going to take your mind to places it doesn't need to be. And it'll create thoughts that you weren't even thinking about, simply because you've seen something that was based on an algorithm that you're not subscribing to. When you get therapy, or if you find someone that you want to speak to that can help you out about the things that are happening in your life, make sure it's face to face. Make sure it's a real life person that you can interact with and you can feel the energy of, okay? Because I think it's important for you to know the people that you're getting in contact with and that you're relaying your information with. In my case, I would say, even if you have like a close friend or a family member, someone that you know is going to be there and that can relay information and be honest with you, speak to them. You know, if you feel like a professional person won't know you like your close people will, and you feel like you can confide in them, and you know that the conversation or the dialogue will go in a way that's productive, then I would say confide in them, okay? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I would suggest that as well. That's actually something that I would do. Don't feel as if you're above getting help, because it's all about excelling and getting better. Don't limit yourself by thinking you have to be alone in the things that you do in your life, okay? You're holding yourself back if you think like that. Another point that I want to make, we need to make our community safer, and that happens one relationship at a time. Anytime there's any type of mass event, it's going to grab headlines. But most people who act violently, they never get help before it's too late. They never get help before it's too late. The real solution and the real antidote to this is connection. The antidote to this violence is connection. It's not distance. We're human. We are social creatures by nature. Isolation, shame, and silence, that fuels pain. Reaching out with empathy and curiosity Even to someone struggling quietly, this can interrupt a dangerous spiral. Here are some practices that we should all start practicing, okay? And it's the not alone rule, which basically means that when someone is struggling, you're going to tell them, you're not alone, I'm here. And be honest with it, be genuine with it. Don't put on an act, be real with it. Be like, you know what, you're not alone, I'm right here with you. I am here with you. You feel me? And I want you to start asking questions like, how are you really doing? Is there something that you're holding in that you need support with? And we also need to make sure that we validate emotions and not judge. And it's important that we remember to do that because we all come from different walks of life. We all have different things that affect someone. So let's make sure we forget the judging and just allow the expression of whatever's happening be expressed.